Close your eyes and imagine stepping into a time machine. The world outside begins to blur, and when you open your eyes again, you're no longer in the present. You are 4 million years in the past. The earth before you is wild, raw, and unrecognizable. There are no cities, no roads, no voices of civilization, only the whisper of ancient winds. Forests stretch endlessly, merging with wide-open savannas. Rivers carve fresh paths across untouched landscapes, and herds of animals roam freely. This is not just another time. It is another world, a place where survival depends on instinct, where danger lurks in every shadow, and where the very first sparks of humanity are beginning to flicker. Welcome to the Primal Earth, a world at the dawn of our story. 4 million years ago, Earth stood at a dramatic turning point. The climate was shifting, growing cooler and drier with each passing millennium. Thick tropical forests began to shrink, giving way to sprawling grasslands. This change forced creatures to adapt or disappear forever. Predators became faster, prey became stronger, and ecosystems rebalanced themselves daily in the dance of survival. Strange giants walked the land, elephant ancestors twice the size of today's species, three-toed horses galloping across plains, and massive flightless birds taller than a man. But hidden in this transformation was a story even more important: the rise of a fragile but extraordinary being. For while most creatures relied on brute strength, claws, or teeth, this new species would rely on something different: intelligence. Among these beasts walked a creature that looked like no other: Australopithecus afarensis, one of our earliest ancestors. Neither fully ape nor fully human, they were a bridge between worlds. They stood upright, walking on two legs, a revolutionary step in evolution. This freed their hands, hands that could pick fruit, carry sticks, and one day, shape tools. Their faces bore ape-like features, with strong jaws and pronounced brows, but their eyes carried something new, a spark of awareness. Life for them was harsh. They had no sharp claws, no great strength, no speed to outrun predators. But what they had was adaptability and the ability to survive together as families and groups. Every cautious step they took across the savannah was the beginning of the story of humanity. For these early hominins, danger was everywhere. The tall grass of the savannah concealed death in every corner. Saber-toothed cats crouched low, their fangs gleaming like ivory daggers. Gigantic hyenas prowled in packs, their jaws strong enough to crush bone. Even rivers were treacherous, with crocodiles waiting silently beneath the water's surface. At night, the darkness became alive with roars, growls, and the sound of footsteps circling the camp. Australopithecus lived in constant fear, always prey, rarely predator. Yet in these moments of terror, they also learned caution, alertness, and the power of moving as one. Though small and vulnerable, their unity gave them strength, a lesson that would carry humanity forward through countless ages. Though primitive, these early ancestors began shaping the environment around them in ways no other creature could. At first, it was simple: sticks to dig for roots, stones to crack open nuts or bones. But slowly, these tools became extensions of their will. Each strike of a stone against another sparked creativity. Though they had not yet mastered fire, they were learning something far more powerful: the idea that the world could be changed by their hands. They scavenged meat left behind by predators, used sharp rocks to scrape flesh, and even defended themselves against smaller threats. It was humble, yes, but it was revolutionary. This was the very first step toward technology, the foundation of everything humans would one day build. The world of 4 million years ago was not just about humans. It was shared with giants. Towering elephants with massive tusks moved like walking mountains across the plains. Herds of antelope, far larger than those today, thundered across the horizon. Birds taller than a man stalked through the grass, their beaks sharp enough to pierce flesh. This was Earth at its most experimental, testing endless designs of life. To the fragile hominins, these giants were both a threat and a source of awe. Every encounter reminded them of their smallness, their fragility, and yet it also taught them resilience. Living among giants forced them to think, to strategize, and to understand the rhythms of a dangerous but beautiful world. Though fire had not yet been mastered, its presence haunted them. Lightning storms set forests ablaze, and flames devoured everything in their path. The primal humans watched from a distance, torn between fear and fascination. The glow of fire promised warmth, safety, and power, but it also meant destruction. Though they could not yet tame it, something in their minds began to awaken. They saw the way predators fled from it, the way night turned into day in its light. And perhaps, deep inside, they dreamed of the moment when they too would wield this force. The fire they feared would one day become the very tool that defined their future. For Australopithecus, survival was not an individual struggle, it was a collective one. Alone, they were weak, but together, they were stronger. Families huddled close, mothers carried infants, and elders passed on knowledge through gesture and example. Communication was still primitive, but the roots of language were forming in their sounds, cries, and expressions. They hunted in small groups, shared food, and watched each other's backs against predators. These bonds gave birth to something more profound than survival, the first traces of human society. It was in these moments, by the fireless camp, beneath the stars, that the human spirit began to emerge. But the story of life is never simple. For every species that thrived, others vanished forever. Some creatures grew too large, too slow, or too specialized to survive the changing climate. Others were wiped away by predators or disasters. Extinction was the silent hand that shaped evolution, pruning the tree of life and guiding it toward new forms. Australopithecus too would one day disappear, leaving behind only fossils and footprints pressed into ancient earth. Yet their disappearance was not an end. It was a step in a larger journey, one that would eventually lead to us. Their survival struggles, their small victories, paved the way for future humans to rise. As the sun sets on this primal earth, we see our ancestors standing small against the vast horizon. They are fragile, vulnerable, and often afraid. But within them burns something no predator can kill. Hope. Hope that comes from family, from intelligence, from the will to survive. 4 million years later, their journey continues in us. From these first steps, humanity would one day build cities, cross oceans, and even reach for the stars. But no matter how far we go, our story began here, in the wild grasslands, under the open skies, where survival first gave birth to imagination.